Hello and welcome to this video in which I show you a step-by-step guide on how to set up ESP-IDF for ESP32 development in VS Code. In this video I will show you how to configure VS Code for ESP-IDF, how to install the USB to UART bridge, which is essential for flashing your code to the ESP32 device, how to build your first project, and well, let's get started. The first thing we need to do is download the ESP development framework. Open a browser and using Google, search for ESP32 IDF. You will find this on the Expressive website. Click on the link Get Started ESP32 ESP-IDF Programming Guide V5. The Expressive web page opens. Scroll down to Manual Installation where you will find the Windows installer. Click on Windows Installer Download, which opens a page with a list of ESP32 development frameworks. In our case, we want to download the ESP-IDF v5.5.1 offline installer Windows 10 11. Click the option ESP-IDF v5.5.1 offline installer Windows 10, 11 and the exe file will start to download. Once the download completes, open the exe file to start the installation. When prompted, select the installation language. I have selected English. Press OK. The installation wizard will now open. Click the I accept the agreement radio button. Press Next. Select the destination folder. In our case, I have selected C ESP32 ESP-IDF. Press Next. On the Select Components page, just accept the default options. Press Next. On the Ready to Install page, press Install. This will start the installation process. When prompted, select Yes to allow the app to make changes to your device. The installation wizard will now complete. On the wizard completion page, select the default checkbox options. Press Finish to complete the wizard. You will see on the desktop that the installer has added two new shortcut icons, the ESP-IDF 5.5 command line shortcut and ESP-IDF 5.5 PowerShell shortcut. Now let's take a look at what has been installed. Open File Explorer and select the folder where the ESP-IDF was installed. Remember, in our case, this is C ESP32 ESP-IDF. In that folder, open the subfolder Frameworks, Examples, Get Started. The Get Started folder contains a subfolder, Blink, which is an example application that we will build and flash later to our ESP device. On the desktop, open the ESP-IDF 5.5 CMD command line shortcut. This will cause all dependencies to be built. The process can take several minutes, but once done, there is usually no need to build all the dependencies again. Once completed, you will see that a single command line idf.py is all that is required to build an ESP32 app. In the command line prompt, go to the Blink app folder. This is located at C ESP32 ESP-IDF Frameworks Examples Get Started Blink. To build our Blink project, enter idf.py build, press enter, and this will build our Blink project. Once the build is completed, information about how to flash the app will appear in the command line interface. We're not going to flash the ESP32 at this stage, but only after we've installed the USB to UART driver and VSCode. Let's now turn to installing VSCode. Open Google and search for VSCode download. Open the web page at https://code.visualstudio.com. Locate the option to download for Windows 10 and 11. When you click on this option, another page will open where you can download the VS Code installer for Windows. Press the download button at the top. Once downloaded, open the VS Code setup file. Follow the setup wizard and accept the default settings. On the Select Additional Tasks page, check the box for Create a Desktop icon. Press Next. On the final page of the wizard, check the Launch Visual Studio Code box. Press the Finish button. The wizard will now terminate and VS Code will open. Under File, Open Folder, open the folder to the Blink example app at C ESP32 ESP-IDF Frameworks Examples Get Started Blink. In VS Code Explorer, you will see the files and subfolders associated with the Blink example app. Open the main folder. This folder contains the source file blink_example_main.c. This file is the source of the example app, including the entry point which runs when the ESP32 processor is rebooted. Save the VS Code project workspace under File, Save Workspace As. Now let's install the ESP-IDF VS Code extension. Click the extensions icon on the far left. Search for the ESP-IDF extension. You will see the ESP-IDF extension at the top of the list. Click Install. We now need to configure the build command line parameters. We need to get an ID parameter for the ESP build process and configure the path parameters for the command prompt when building our app. In the Windows desktop, right-click the ESP-IDF 5.5 command shortcut. Open Properties. Select and copy the content of the target field to the clipboard. Back in VS Code, in the most recently used command box, open Preferences, open User Settings, JSON. This opens the User's Settings JSON file. We will add new parameters immediately after the command prompt path property. Enter a property called args and open and close square bracket. Enter /k as the first property. And the second property is the path to our ESP-IDF command line. C/ESP32/ESP-IDF/IDF_command_init.bat. Then paste the value starting ESP-IDF from the clipboard from the command line shortcut target field to the second property. Save and close the settings.json file. Now we are ready to build our example Blink app. In the VS Code terminal, enter idf.py build to build the app. If you get the null error, close the terminal by clicking on the trash can icon and then open a new terminal to resolve this issue. Since I got the null error, I will try to rebuild the app by entering idf.py build in the terminal command line. We cannot flash the ESP32 module right now since we haven't yet installed the USB to UART bridge driver. To start the installation of the USB to UART bridge driver, open a browser. Use Google to search for the USB to UART bridge driver for your ESP32 module. In my case, I require the Silicon Labs CP21OX driver. From the Silicon Labs webpage, download the CP21OX Universal Windows driver. Once downloaded, open the zip file. Extract the contents of the zip file. In my case, I extracted the contents to C ESP32 CP210X drivers. After extracting the file, open the path in File Explorer. Right-click on the INF file SILAB.SER, select Install from the pop-up menu. When prompted, click Yes to allow the installation of the driver. Now open Windows Device Manager. Expand the Ports section. You will see that the USB to UART driver has been installed. This is called Silicon Labs CP210X USB to UART bridge COM3. Keep a note of the COM port. This is usually COM3. Now let's build the Blink example app and flash it to the ESP32 device. In VS Code, open the Blink example main.c file. Scroll down to the hash define Blink GPIO. In my case, I need to change the hash define pinout for the blinking LED. On the ESP32 device I'm using, this I/O is pin 2. Save the changes by using Ctrl+S. Open a terminal and enter idf.py build, press return. This will build the app with the I/O pin number change. Wait for the build to complete. Now we're ready to flash the ESP32 module. In the VS Code terminal, enter idf.py -p com3 flash, where com3 is the COM port number of my USB to UART driver. I found that for some reason an explicit port number must be used since the default COM3 for some reason didn't work. On completion, the ESP32 will commence flashing the onboard LED once every second. Thank you for watching. I hope that you found this video useful and that you'll consider pressing the like button. I will be posting more videos on ESP32 development regularly. If you don't want to miss new content, please consider subscribing so you'll be notified of new videos as they become available. Thank you. Bye now.